And as we're getting situated here, invitation to check in with your body. You're welcome to make adjustments, right? Maybe you're just kind of shifting your body side to side, finding a good balance in your seat, making some neck rolls, taking a couple of deep breaths. It's checking in, making sure you have the right amount of support in your body to begin with. You're welcome at any point to close your eyes, set your gaze downward. It's beginning to soften that external vision and going a bit more inward. That really, this process of slowing down and going inward, it takes practice, takes a little time. We're so oriented throughout the day to go external. We've got responsibilities and things pulling our attention. So this going internal, the more familiar it is, the more ease the settling is. The less familiar it is, the more perhaps movement is required. And then there's also days, no matter how long you've been meditating, that you just need a little bit of extra input because being still is difficult. It's just this reminder that it doesn't have to be a certain way. We're just inviting in the slowing down. And we'll spend a couple of moments here in silence, just checking in with your inner landscape. So what am I feeling? What am I experiencing? Sometimes naming and noting things is helpful. I've got a big meeting coming today. That's probably going to want to capture my attention. Something happened yesterday that I keep ruminating on. That's probably going to come into my field of awareness. So it's not about trying to push everything away and be perfectly still. We're just slowing down. Just naming and noticing different sensations, feeling tone, emotion, and noticing how those things shift and change. Just curious again about different sensations you're feeling in the present moment. Just heaviness can sometimes feel like groundedness. Heaviness can sometimes feel like an intense emotion. You're just experiencing, interpreting the experience. And then very often in that interpretation, we go up into our mind. And the moment we notice that, it's this invitation to come back down into your body. Not because we're trying to avoid our mind or push anything away. We're just looking for that balance of groundedness in the present. We're about 97% body and maybe 3% brain. But very often we spend our time living in the mind. It's part of our yoga practice, the movement practice, the asana practice. It gets us into our body. And just the fact that you've chosen a shape to settle into today, that is part of our movement practice. Just being in your body. You can watch the movement of your breath. You can make those conscious movements purposefully, making a neck roll to not only soften tension, but recapture your attention. And that physicality is a bit more tangible than trying to move our mind. Sometimes rather than trying to push a thought away, which just simply gives it more of our energy, we're just noticing, what am I feeling in my body? That thought is pulling to me. I keep thinking about that thing that's pulling to me. Instead of resisting that, we're just seeing if we can come back to notice our body. What kind of sensation am I feeling in my feet? And suddenly that information becomes a lot more obvious. Like, oh yeah, right, feet. And then suddenly our feet are sharing information with us. A temperature, a pressure change, maybe a little toe wiggle helps you feel a blanket or a sock. It's just curious about the sensory information in the present moment. And as we stay, we can settle into more and more subtlety of awareness. We can start with a more obvious sensation of the body. Delightful sensations like a gentle stretch, the touch of a loved one, or you're petting one of your beloved pets, or you're just feeling your sit bones touching a chair, touching the floor. Yes, there's a lot of comfort that can come through our sensory awareness. We also feel pain and discomfort in our sensory awareness. And all of it is just information for us to tend to, pausing and enjoying those moments of calm and ease. And instead of judging any difficult moments, just checking in. What is that information telling me? And then from these physical sensations, we can start to notice our breath, how our breath affects us. Still feeling our breath physically, movement. Maybe even noticing the top of your collarbone shifting at the very top of your inhale, the fullest part. Can you watch your exhale? Just inviting your body to continue softening as you watch the slow, steady exhale. Just practicing there. Just practicing noticing your breath. And you don't have to force your attention. You're just inviting that deep curiosity and seeing all of these different stages of breath. What's the difference? What's the similarity? What's the sensation? And from this noticing of our body, sensory awareness, it's curious about breath, sometimes modulating our breath, like a slow exhale, helping to turn on our calming systems. And then eventually we start to work with a sense withdrawal. We do that every time we invite the closed eyes, or even just setting your gaze, letting it focus and be still. In this pathway with the 8 limbs of yoga, very specifically, it's written that we notice first the physicality, then the subtlety of breathing, and eventually even the more subtle experience of withdrawing from sensation. And the idea in the Yoga Sutras is that eventually we settle deeper and deeper. And the 8th limb is samadhi. That's sometimes translated as bliss, or complete wholeness. Nothing is missing from us. We're not seeking anything out. Our mind isn't stretching out to try to remember something or try to plan some event. Just fully in the present. And that comes in moments. And then eventually it comes in waves. And then eventually it comes in large swaths of stillness and ease. And it takes practice. It's really just noticing one breath at a time. That's where it begins. And it's right here in this present moment. So noticing this breath. Part of this process of meditation as well is eventually starting to see thoughts, patterns of thought, how our mind takes us out of present, where judgment lives, what discomfort feels like. We start to really learn about ourselves. It's a depth of knowing that's different than knowing the self that plans. It's just knowing the self that's still. What does it feel like to just be here with myself? And it's never by yourself. The fact that you're breathing means that we're all connected. But this going inward, just discovering more and more about your needs, your wants, your desires, and just practicing appreciating. Can I slow down and just notice this breath? And that's enough. I invite you to bring your hands into any of your closing habits or practices. Palms together, hands over heart, just contacting yourself in some way. I'll share here just a little quote from Huang Pao. He's a Chinese Buddhist scholar and author from the 800s. And this is a phrase that can be so comforting. And it can also lend you into curiosity and questioning how you feel about it. Just notice how this lands for you. All that you need is already there in you in perfection and in abundance. Nothing at all is wanting. All that you need is already there in you in perfection and in abundance. Nothing is wanting. We'll end with a few loving kindness phrases. These phrases aren't just well-wishing. You might start to see, do I have resistance to this phrase? Can I receive it? What does it feel like? Does it feel foreign? Does it feel comforting? And none of that is good or bad or right or wrong. Just checking in with yourself. You can repeat these phrases back if they make sense for you. May I trust everything I need is right here. May I practice trusting that everything I need is right here. May I remember Everything I need is right here. And when action is needed, may I choose to move with ease and peace. Take your time. Just whenever you feel ready, when you feel complete, you can find movement, open your eyes, make some shoulder rolls. And as always, just taking a moment to thank yourself just for showing up today. Thank you each for being here, Sangha, supporting each other.